Hello, and welcome to the Unfold Yourself podcast with me, Irene Ocho. Like I said, this space is for those who want to discover the true sense of their being, because as life happens, you get to a point in your life where you realize, is this the life I'm supposed to live? And so the Unfold Yourself podcast is here to defy all the norms, conformity, removing the limits so that you truly discover your unique blueprint, who you're supposed to unfold yourself and bring about what we call life's experiences. I'm in this space in my life where I've since discovered that you're either making a living or living a life. One of them will give you the true path to how to live your life at its fullest, and whatever challenges that come your way, you are designed for them, while another is telling you to take the back seat, be comfortable, conform, be a uniform, and fit in. And like I said, my space is for those who want to hear themselves tell themselves their own story to find out whether they're actually living life or making a living. And the only way to know which path you have been showing up as is to tell your own story and find out the places where you actually were limited and told who you are and who you can become and who you cannot become. As I speak right now, I have since left two limiting spaces, my religion and full-time employment. And of course, I no longer subscribe to my academic qualifications because they're telling me I am my grades, a piece of paper, memorized knowledge. I've since discovered that each one of us is a unique, supreme being having their own special vessel, male or female, to self-realize and fully unfold themselves to express. But how else can you unfold yourself unless you know who you are? And so today, my first guest is very special. I actually listened to his story when he was fixing my beautiful hair. With me today is Mr.
Senteza Ambrose Mike.
Senteza is my guest today, and so I'm hoping he will share his story so that you can listen and find out whether you're actually making a living or living life. And I'm hoping that his story can, just point the finger at you and find out the places where you are limited. Mr. Senteza, thank you so much for honoring my invitation to the Unfold Yourself podcast. Briefly, tell me, what are you doing right now currently in your life?
Currently, I'm a loctician. I do hair, dreadlocks, sister locks. So we are called locticians. That's what I do. I have a salon located in Wandegia. That's what I'm currently doing. Yes.
So you remember last week when you were fixing my hair, you were telling me your story that you would not have been a loctician. You're supposed to be an Ford. Take us back to where you were born and how you were raised. The reason why I'm asking this question is when we're born into this world, we are pure. We have no knowledge of who we are.
Yes.
We are full of potential and ability and limitless. But when you're born into a family, you find a story. Tell us the story of the family you were born in.
Actually, it's quite interesting. Maybe sometimes it is sad on my side, but I was born in Masaka. By that time, it was still called Masaka. Right now, it is Greater Masaka.
Yes.
But right now, it is Rengo district.
All right.
Yeah. My father was a soldier, and my mother was a civilian.
That's interesting. I wonder how they met.
So I can't tell how they met, but if I'm to think, maybe for the transfers that they give the soldiers, maybe I think it is one of the way
They met each other.
they met each other.
Okay. So how was life like a child born into a barracks? You were born in the barracks?
Yes.
What was it like? How did they raise you as a child of a soldier and a civilian?
As a child of a soldier, it is so funny that most of the times we find ourselves like in families, because at that age you can't like you don't know anything.
So
You don't know anything.
let me cut you short there.
Yes.
Just describe how you were raised.
how I was raised.
They tell us how many children you were. What was it like at home? Who was in charge? Tell us.
Of course, our father was in charge. He's the head of the family. Yes, he was in charge, followed by our mother.
So how was it like, really?
Life was quite good in the beginning.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, life was quite good. Sure, it was good.
So you were allowed to play.
We were allowed to play, but as children, we were never limited. But we were guided as kids, of course. Yeah, but in the beginning, life was so good because our father used to take care of us. So the sad moment about this is that I never saw him.
Did you mean you never saw him?
I never saw my dad because
He was always on the front line?
not that. He died when I was still young.
Died when you were still young.
Yes, those was like I was like 10 months.
Oh,
He died.
so you didn't experience
I did.
you die
I never
in pure consciousness.
I never experienced anything called that. I never called someone until up to this age. I haven't called anyone that. I haven't called anyone father. I just read it.
Someone didn't give her the role of being the head of the house. Tell us then, how were you raised? Who was in charge of your education? Who was in charge of the family setting?
It was my mother.
It was your mother.
We were 8 kids.
So was she in the
I
barracks?
was the second last.
Did she stay in the barracks?
She stayed in the barracks.
She stays in the...
Sometimes we stayed in the barracks and sometimes we stayed home.
Okay.
Yes.
I want you to especially tell us the story of what life is like to be a child who is raised in the army
In
situation. Yes.
First of all, if you're born in a barracks,
That's what I want to hear.
yeah, if you're born in a barracks, first of all, you are treated as a military material.
Military material?
Military material.
Can you
You are a
explain?
government product.
Okay, you're support of the government. Hey. What's it like?
It's like they take care of you.
So did you go to school?
I went to school.
School.
I went to Mashindi Army.
Also, it's an army school.
Yes, and Magamaga Army.
What were you learning there?
We were learning
All the subjects.
all the subjects,
And?
cultural activities, like football.
Which you told me you're very good at.
Yes, I did. And actually some other military stuffs, although we were young.
Okay. So as a young child, how did you feel being in a barrack setting? Were they already preparing your mind that you're going to be a soldier?
I never knew that when I was young, but when I grew up, I came to realize that it was the same thing they were aiming at. Yes, it was the same thing they were aiming at because we were young and they could wake us up at 4
a.m.
and then we parade.
Like the real
Yes, and by that time, I wonder even how my mom got the idea of taking me to an army school. At that age, I actually thought that maybe she could wait until I make like 12 or 14, but it's like she took me when I was serving civilian or
Maybe.
and it was a boarding school.
Oh God. Maybe because she had no way of taking care of you and she thought that was the best way to let the soldiers setting take care of you.
Yes.
Okay. So how was it like? Did you, while you were going through that military training stroke school education, as they called it, what were they telling you you're going to become? What were it like?
Of course, they were telling us we are going to become soldiers.
See,
And actually, there was a war in northern Uganda.
I think that's Konyi's War.
Konyi's War. Right. And some of my colleagues didn't even get a chance to go back to their homes. Some of the students, they used to stay because in their villages, there was a war, so they had to wait. So for us, we could go, sometimes we could go back home for holidays. We come back and find them.
Okay. So while you were in that army school, did you ever have an idea that I don't want to be a soldier, I can be more than this?
Yes, of course.
So when that happened to you, what did you do to get out? Because you shared with me last week and you were telling me it was military life. You knew nothing outside except military.
Of course.
So when did that moment come that I'm more than just being a soldier or a child of a soldier?
I don't know, but I think it happened miraculously.
That's the word, mate.
Yeah, miraculously, but it was kind of liberating myself from myself.
You were liberating yourself from yourself.
From myself.
So how did you go about it? Because it takes a lot of courage to stand before a commander and say, I don't want to be a soldier.
Yes. Yeah, of course, it takes a lot of courage to liberate yourself from yourself. Because most of the time, it's ourselves holding ourselves back.
Exactly.
Maybe sticking to
The formula
a formula
and not questioning.
or a designed
That's the word.
you
A
get
designed way of living life.
designed the way of living life. So it is not easy. It is kind of difficult.
So what did you do?
I came actually when I joined secondary school, was all of my life I was in all of my primary school. I was in better schools.
Exactly.
So when I joined secondary school, my grandmother came out with an idea that maybe you should join a civilian school. So after joining a civilian school, that's when I started experiencing like civilian life.
Yes. You told me it was totally, you were in the army system, but you had never known there was freedom.
Yeah, there was freedom outside. Do they treated us well? You think? I like the civilian life living. Yeah.
So how did you convince grandma or mommy that I'm not going back to be a soldier like my father?
Because she saw what happened to the previous people who joined the army. Because it wasn't only my father.
Lived lives.
Yeah, it wasn't only my father, but also my uncles. Were in military.
Excuse me. So it is a generation born in the your children are been, so there's no choice who they are becoming. They must remain in the barracks. Wow.
So after I think when she saw what happened to my uncles, I think that's when he came out with an idea of telling me and my little brother to join civilian secondary school. Yeah. So when I reached there, that's when I experienced like civilian life, and that's when I came to know that a military school is something that is designed to train someone to live a particular, maybe a designed life.
Yes.
That's what I can also.
Designed, unlimited, and just ready to go for war front.
Yeah.
That's it. Like a
Live in
machine.
an order.
In order.
In order.
So the civilian taste of school, when you're wider way of living. And while you were experiencing it, what was it that you desired to become? Because now it was clear you're not going to be a soldier like your uncles and your great-grandfather and your great-great. You were breaking the chain in consciousness.
Of course, it was a type of life which is unlimited,
Exactly.
where you can do anything
You want.
as long as you don't hurt like others.
Okay, so I can hear hurt others. They still have the soldier thing in you. So in the civilian school, what subjects did you think you were good at? What is it that you now saw that you are going to experience so that you can share a skill or service?
I was good in art and craft.
Wow.
And that's what I do now.
Yes, I know. I can even see it here, art and craft. Okay, so
I do now.
So you discovered an ability or a talent that you already had, but you also told me you're good at sports.
I'm good at sports.
Athletes.
Yes, because I was a footballer. And I did that in my secondary school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think right now, if you had an opportunity, you would still pick up being a footballer? There's a reason why I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Is there any reason why?
I want to hear, would you still?
Yes, of course, because it doesn't actually die. Like it doesn't die. It is always there. It is always vibrating.
That's what I wanted to hear. You see, why we're having this conversation, my podcast is about letting people find that they were born limitless, number one. They have their own unique talents and they have their own unique abilities. But depending on the family and the conscious story that you find, it's the one that decides to tell you who you are. Like in your case, because all your generation had been raised in the army family, it is the way it is that all of you are going to, yet you know you're a footballer and artist, but you're lucky you had a way or a leeway out. You explained something about, I want people to understand how the constructs of society can limit us and we conform instead of ever unfolding and experiencing life, because there's a difference in living life and making a living. Living life is when you discover the talent that you uniquely have and exploring it to share it as a service or a product. Whereas making a living is, they tell you, go to school, score these grades. Like you now, they were saying, go to the army school, you're just going to be a soldier and that's it, stay focused. So you yourself said it, that when you went into civilian life, you started experiencing a different kind of light. So it's the same thing we all find ourselves when we don't know the talents that we have and the abilities, we fit into a square, like a cog, they call it a keg, a cog in the wheel of the system. And not many have the guts or the audacity to break away. You shared with me that there's a commander or something who found you and remembered your father and tell you to process the payment because, they finally found the son. Tell me the experience you had.
There, I was at my workplace at the salon.
Yes.
And then I received some clients, some customers. They came in. After coming in, then we had a little conversation. There were two. But what I knew, one was a mother to another one. So when the daughter got out, the mother was like, you see that girl? She's a soldier. And I was like, what? I for real? Then she was like, yes, she's a soldier and she's a major.
Wow.
I was like, wow, you can't even know. And then she's so calm.
So the major then got in touch with you because they wanted you to process your brother. You call it pension?
Yeah, pension.
Yes.
Now, the story was like, when the mother told me about her, after a while she came back and then we started a conversation. I was like, I was also raised in a barracks. I grew up in a barracks. My father was a soldier. And she was like, oh, okay. So she was like, I'm also a soldier, but I work in veterans affairs.
Yeah. And your dad was a veteran. Yeah, well, he's considered now.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, that's quite good. So she was like, so how are you dealing with the pension things?
Yes.
And then I was like, I'm not actually, not following up anything. But my father died in 1994. And yeah, I was born in 1993, October. So she died in 1994.
So she was now willing to help you process the money.
Yeah, so she was willing to help me out. And then she called me, she gave me, we exchanged the numbers. After exchanging the numbers, she was like, you come to my office on this day. Good. Then I did. So when I went there, she welcomed me.
Yeah, that's too fun.
The funny thing is that when I reached there, was like I was wearing a head sock. I was like, you can't talk to no one wearing that head sock. So I was like, yeah, all right, because it's a code of conduct in the army. I removed the head sock. And then she was like, you're not allowed to have locks, not dreadlocks. If you want me to process your father, your pension, then you have to come back in my office without that hair.
And what did she say? The reason why you are here?
The reason, she told me that I'm a government.
Yes. That's what I wanted to hear. You're a government product, and so you're property of the government.
I'm a property of your Uganda People's Defense Force.
And how did that make you feel?
And I have to inherit or my father. You get.
So, but how did it make you feel?
It made me feel so bad because I am kind of living a different life from the army life. So right now, the army life has nothing to do with the current life I'm living.
And you felt like it's kind of putting you back
Putting me in the box again.
exactly, fitting you in the box.
Fitting me in the box. Because if I'd wanted to join the army, I think I would have done that maybe like 8 years back or 5 years back
But that was never your dream.
after school, but it wasn't my dream.
You see, what you're sharing here is letting people understand if you don't know your true sense of being, society, experience has decided, and most of the time we don't know it, but like you said, a designed life that you never want to experience has been handed down to you by force.
Oh.
When you get to discover who you are, they can never force you back into that box again. Because look, we could have said, okay, let me submit for the sake of getting my father's pension. But you said, no, I know who I am and I'll live. I mean, he passed on, but I'm still living. If you want me to conform,
Of course.
I will not conform. So we're sharing your story here. Did it take you to your name, Senteza? It's so clear now that the families we get born in decide who we are and who we cannot be. The schools which we get an education is also telling us the abilities we have or do not have. But also culture can. I don't know if you experienced your culture. Your name is Senteza.
My name is Senteza.
Do you know what it means?
I don't know what it means, but all I know is that it's a name from two clans.
Oh.
And I'm always surprised why two clans share the same name, because it's from the clan and the Senene clan. I'm called Senteza and it's an African name. I'm so good about it.
Okay, just sounds good. So for you, you never really got to experience the limitations that come with your cultural name, because some names are given to children to explain the situation in which they were born in. And of course, like you said, each clan has every tradition also has its limits. They call them Obukwakulizo or something like that. Meaning, if you're of this tribe, you don't touch that one, you don't marry. Those are limitations I think you have avoided because no one took you into the depths. So the only limits you have experienced are the limits of the childhood telling you that you are going to end up being a soldier. And I'm glad that when I've asked you right now, if an opportunity came for you to become the best footballer in Uganda, would you rise to the occasion?
Of course, yes.
You still believe in the innate gift?
Of course, yes. Because I'm always a kind of person who does what I love. Because if I don't love something, I don't bother.
That's what I wanted to hear. You see, in life, we are told to be and do what we're supposed to do. The truth is, our each individual spirit has something. I call it a desire, you called it love. Each one of us has our unique desire. And whatever you desire, trust me, you'll even jump the walls of the barracks just to do it. The point is, when you discover who you are and your unique desires, nothing that's thrown in your way can ever limit you. Your father's passing away never stopped you from tuning into your desire.
Yeah, of course.
Your being taken to army schools never stopped you from tuning into your desire. Then finally you came out to the world of freedom, but now you're still continuing to unfold yourself.
To unfold myself each and every day.
Each and every day. I'm going to ask you a very, very critical question, which we should ask every child as they grow.
Okay.
What do you feel is your life's highest desire? That's a good place to start from, because I'm speaking in the space that I'm in right now. I've since realized we have mixed up the script of life. And that's why we're chasing and never getting. We're working from abundance in lack and scarcity and poverty instead of abundance. I mean, look at this grass. It's me to decide to limit it by cutting it. The air that we breathe, the trees, the birds, the sun just wakes up. No one is following its natural unfolding. Whereas the human being, who is supposed to be the governor of life experience, has been given a script and constricted. I believe as a child is born, they should be born in a family that's aware that we're bringing forth another unique spirit that has its own life purpose, and that it took self-realize under our family. I'm glad that you find yourself. You don't have to answer that question today, but I'm giving it to you because your story itself just shows someone who is tuned in with their life's experience. And now I'm giving you another challenge because you've overcome challenge after challenge. The 3 or 4 places where we are designed how life is supposed to be is number 1, family setting. 2 is the educational system.
Yeah.
3 is the religion, which we are going to go to next.
Okay.
4 is traditional, and 5 is probably social status. So I don't like asking people this question, but do you subscribe to, and the word is subscribe, it's like a YouTube. Do you subscribe to any religion? Why?
I do subscribe to Christianity.
Why? How did you find yourself?
And I
there?
think Christianity isn't a religion.
Not
Because it is my definition, but Christianity, I think Christianity is like something that brings together different religions.
interesting. How was it? Were you born into Christianity? Because it's a religion anyway. Were you born into it, or were you
I was born into it. Yeah, I was born into it.
as in? And now we're trying to break down. You're either a Christian or Protestant, Catholic, or religion. So which one do you fall under? Catholic, Protestant, or the general one, which they say Christian?
That's when I come to say that I'm a Christian, because it is something that he has
And take side.
doesn't take sides.
Yeah.
Because taking sides most of the time brings misunderstandings amongst the people. So
So you choose
I
Christian.
choose Christianity because as Christianity is almost like being a voice to the voiceless.
Okay, but do you know that everybody has a voice?
Everybody has a voice.
And it's just these confining structures that tell us that we're voiceless. Okay, that's interesting. You just found yourself, that's what was.
mommy. My father was a Catholic, and my mother was a Catholic also.
So have you seen the evolution?
I'm seeing the evolution.
They left Catholicism because they're still trying to find a place where they are free but united.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to bring out. We still also find social constructs that are telling us where our spiritual growth should be drawn from. And for lack of better word, religion has captured that space. But as I speak where I stand right now, do you know that you yourself can discover your own spirituality? Because it wants to express itself freely, but from love.
Yeah.
Because that's why you said, no, I don't want this. Because as long as we're going to religion, we divide the spirituality.
Of course, yeah.
But whenever we say, I am present as a being that loves, these days I refer myself as the immortal loving being, so that you don't peg me onto. Yeah. Each one has their own descriptions. Yes. And each one is dividing each other against each other. Yes. So, like I said, life is supposed to be lived from one's pure state of consciousness, but it gets lost along the way from the common narrative. And I think from what you've shared, you were also born in the narrative of wherever your parents say you should go, you should go. Whatever they say you should become, that's your social status. Whatever your religion says, that's where your spirituality. All those are the limiting states in life that I wanted you to share that you have experienced. And so today, if I asked you, do you believe that you are this person who is limitless and can continue experiencing life from their own understanding of what it is?
Of course, yes. I believe that I'm limitless. I believe that I'm limitless.
So in the end, no matter what society gave you as
No matter what.
experience, no matter which family you were born in,
Yes.
no matter what education.
I can, of course, choose to be anything else. That is the limitless I'm talking about.
Brilliant.
Yes, I can choose to become someone else. I can choose to become anything that I feel like I want.
So basically living from your highest desire, and it's still taking you back to that question. So you think about, I don't want you to answer it, because to answer that question, you have to remove everything that has defined you. You're from such a family, you went to such a school, this is your religion, this is your tribe, This is your culture. This is your skin color, so that you find yourself within. Yeah. So is there anything you'd like to ask me before we wrap up?
I'd like to ask question for you.
Yes.
So
Oh yeah, before you even answer that, from what you've shared, do you ever regret the decisions you've taken in life, you yourself? Do you ever regret?
I can't regret. I can't regret the decisions that I have made in life because it has all been an experience.
Okay. And you have
Unlike-
given yourself the permission
Yes,
to experience it.
because there is one thing that life does to us. It gives us the exams before teaching us.
So it is, we are learning. In short, you're saying,
We do the tests before learning.
okay, so in short, you're saying, we'll have to take charge of how your life will shape itself, or
Yes.
it will shape you into prison.
Yes, otherwise it will shape you into prison.
It will lock you out.
Actually, even yesterday I was in a courtroom.
What happened? Long story short.
Okay, let me cut this story short. She's a rider, but right. So she broke the law.
Also, you went to vouch for her.
He broke the law. He used a one-way lane.
Oh yeah, was that something we also went to?
He used the one-way lane, and then he was arrested. After being arrested, they called us. He was arrested like yesterday because he was arrested on first at around 1 p.m. and they never communicated it to us. After a while, like on second, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Then they told us.
Let me cut you short. So in your family, still people look up to you as an elder.
Of course,
They still look up to you.
of course.
So I think one of the reasons is because they've realized you take charge of your own life. You're responsible. But as we were talking about him taking one-way lane, it also reminded me how in life we're supposed to take one-way lane. Yet there are so many ways to skin a rat and so many ways to beat Kampala. Because that's what life is all about.
Yeah.
So you notice that if you don't follow the way of the majority, you get into trouble.
Of course, you get into trouble.
Hope the other way is the right. So for them, the other way is also the right way of seeing there. Don't you think if we were in a space where we're more of allowing rather than accepting, we would experience life differently?
Of course,
Yeah.
maybe even creating more space for
Everybody.
everybody
Instead of,
and
and then you see,
into that limitation.
exactly. Okay.
So we ended up in the court, and
See,
we paid his out because we paid the fine. The penalties
you've actually,
we paid for them.
you've highlighted something that I wanted to bring out. Life has also its own higher laws that we're supposed to live within, or else when we get out, we burn ourselves. But also we can constrict ourselves and never fully experience life and live from fear. I'm sure when he broke the traffic rule, didn't think about it. He was just trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, he was trying to get somewhere. And then the good thing that the gentleman did when he was in the courtroom, he asked, and then the judge,
See the power of surrender? Yeah. Surrender and
and the judge was like, okay, you're not wasted our time, so you're going to pay for these 3 penalties, and then I let you out. Then we asked, it is freedom again. That's what I was trying to get from you, free, because I got my freedom out of the military schools.
that's what I wanted you to say. I don't know how far you're going to soar in life. I'm just happy that you're going to take control. But I think when you stop seeking, we all have a desire to be free. But when you stop seeking freedom, you never realize your own life experience.
Of course.
So my point of having this podcast and inviting people to share their stories, just to show how they did it themselves, find their own freedom. You found your own freedom, and you're still continually finding it's never the end. It's like a flower. It opens up, Then when that experience is over, it goes back again, grows another until you get to the highest blossom. That's why I left you with the question, what is your highest life's desire? Your highest desire of living in life.
Good enough you say that I don't have to answer that today.
I don't want you to answer it today, because if I tell you to answer it today, I'm limiting you from self-realizing and self-expressing yourself. So if you have normal questions, I will bring it to a close and I'll say thank you so much for sharing your story. It touched me when you were fixing my hair. It's like, oh, so many people actually do know they are free, but they don't know how to get the freedom. That issue you shared was, it's only you can give you the freedom. No one can unlock you.
And actually, it isn't that easy to free yourself from something. It's like an addiction. Just imagine growing up when someone is designing a way of life for you, not caring about what your own desires or what you think like later after that. Because when I was in a military school, it was kind of programming. That's what I wanted hearing. Like, all I can tell you right now is that they used to wake us up at 4. We parade, as I said before, earlier. We parade. After parading, we mop our dormitories. After mopping the dormitories, we parade again.
Robot,
Yes, as robots.
never think for yourself. Just
I experienced, all I can tell you is that I experienced a lot of things, because one day I saw with my eyes a student fighting with a teacher, and our teachers were soldiers. That's when I came to know that they're training soldiers now front. Because even students started singing, they actually started singing a song, and I actually have it in my head. It's like program after seeing the fight between the teacher and the teacher and the student, Then the students there and then immediately they started singing a song, and I was like, what?
You know that music is a way of releasing the tension and freedom and fear.
You know what they were singing? In Kiswahili, that Mr. Mzembe walipondesha uge kwa kichwa. Meaning that the instructor, that Mr. Idiot. Mr. Idiot, let me say this in Luganda, I think you will translate. Mr. Idiot, Omusiro, bawoleza, like cooling down the porridge in his head. Because a student poured porridge in his head. Now I came, like, after that, I was like, what? What's that? Is this the life we are living? I won't say that it was that bad,
But that's what
they used
you wanted.
Yes, because they used to take care of us. And I actually want to give thanks to the president. That's the one thing that I can't leave out. Actually, I'm thanking the president of that time. It's the same president, but I want to thank the president and the minister of education of that time.
They do create a comfort zone for you, but there comes a time when you have to leave the comfort zone and just find your life. I'm happy that you have chosen to take charge of your life's expression and experience, and don't limit yourself. I still believe the limitations are there to wake us up from being in a conformity, comfort, but we never know until we get out of a situation that we were actually being limited on who we can be and become. Okay, so Mr. Senteza, thank you so much. I'm hoping to hear from you sometime in the future when you find that highest desire. We'll catch up with you because you're removing limitations that you've been into. But I'm glad to hear that you took charge of how your life was going to continually open up and experience it from your own desire and own wanting.